This question says, find the equation of the quadratic function in the graph using the form y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So we have this quadratic function here shown in a graph, and we want to figure out what is the equation of this quadratic function. And this form is known as vertex form. So the first step is we need to identify the vertex in the graph. So because this graph, this parabola is opening downwards, the vertex is going to be the highest point in the graph, which we can see is labeled right here as 1, 2. So when we're trying to write a quadratic function in this form, the coordinates h, k correspond to the vertex, which is 1, 2. So for this example, the value for h is going to be 1, and the value for k is going to be 2. So we can go ahead and fill in those values in the function. We can say y is equal to a, we don't know what a is yet, but we can say x minus h. So h we said will be 1. So we'll say 1 squared plus k. K we said is going to be 2. So we'll say plus 2. Now the last thing we need to do is solve for a. So we need to figure out what this a value is. The way that we do that is we can plug in either of the x-intercepts in the graph. So we have an x-intercept right here at 0, 0, where the graph is crossing the x-axis. And we have another x-intercept right here at 2, 0, where the graph crosses the x-axis again. So we can pick either one of these x-intercepts. It doesn't matter which one we pick, we'll get the exact same answer either way. And we're going to plug it in for x and y in this equation, and we'll solve for a. So let's just go ahead and pick the x-intercept 0, 0. So we'll plug in a 0 for x and a 0 for y. So we'll say 0 is equal to a times 0 minus 1 squared plus 2. So we can simplify a little bit. We can say 0 is equal to a times 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is just a positive 1. And then we have plus 2. Now to get a all by itself, we can subtract a 2 from each side. So on this left-hand side, we get negative 2 is equal to a times 1, or just a. So a is equal to negative 2. So we can plug that in right here to get our final equation. So we can say y is equal to negative 2 times x minus 1 squared plus 2. This is the equation represented by this graph right here. Now, as we mentioned earlier, this is in vertex form. If you wanted to write it in standard form, you could also do that. So I'll make a little room here and show how to do that. Alright, so we found that this was our answer in vertex form, but if we wanted to write this equation in standard form, we could use this format instead. So all we have to do is just expand this vertex form equation. So we can start with the x minus 1 squared. So if you have some expression like a minus b squared, when you expand this out, that is equal to a squared minus 2 times ab plus b squared. So if we want, we can rewrite this as y is equal to negative 2 times this expression is going to become x squared minus 2 times x plus 1, because negative 1 squared is just a plus 1. And then we still have this plus 2 at the end, so we'll say plus 2. So we can distribute this negative 2 into the parentheses here, and we'll get y is equal to negative 2x squared plus 4x minus 2, and we have this plus 2 at the end. So the last thing to simplify is we'll notice this negative 2 and this positive 2 will just cancel out. So we'll be left with y is equal to negative 2x squared plus 4x. So this is how you could write this same equation in standard form. So that was just a quick example of how to find the equation of a quadratic function from a graph.